On this episode of Lapeef, Let's Talk.
To do. And then now look at the laws. The laws are also saying that they don't even have to tell you nothing. So I'm really saying this big picture, and I'm with Anton. It's not for me. I gotta leave this world to somebody else. And then now, the more stuff we tolerate, imagine you say, "Oh, I got a transgender friend. It doesn't matter to me. Perfectly fine. I got it. Understand." But the more you tolerate, you'll leave this world in worse shape for your kids. Do you want your kids to have that? And especially coming from women that always say that they want choice. Don't you want to be able to sit here and say you leave for your sons and your daughters the possibility to have a choice whether or not they was actually messing with a born man or a born woman? Do you think they deserve that choice?
But I have transgender people that I personally know. So I'm not going to sit on a platform and say that I don't agree with their choices of how they live their life. I see many people who have made changes for themselves that have psychologically made themselves better. So I can't sit on a platform and say that transgender people are a threat to me.
Interesting. So what about men that are down low? Are they a threat to you?
Men that are down low are an issue. I will say those are an issue. If you are loud and proud, Anton, then be loud and proud.
So what you're saying is that the only thing you have an issue with is if you don't know what they are, if you don't know what it is that they stand for.
If you are not loud and proud, that's the only time I would have.
But I don't. But one of the things, and correct me if I'm wrong, that trans people are trying to do is they don't want to have to announce what they are or what they've done prior to interacting with you. They just want to be respected as whatever it is that they identify as. So if they are not loud and proud, it literally flies in the face of what it is that you're advocating for.
And that's why they also have the question of what was the identity you were born as. So that's not something that they can do, is just get rid of that.
No,
it's fine that you don't want. It's fine that you want to be loud and proud, but you can't get rid of, like, it is marked and it's a question you have to ask. What is the identification of when you were born? What was that gender? Whether they identify it as it now or later, that's up to them.
But it contradicts and it actually support Logic's narrative, because what Logic is saying is that they've gotten so close to being able to trick you. By default, we're not trained to walk up to somebody when we first meet them and say, "Hey, what was you born as?" Right?
So is this not something you're vetting? Isn't that
is anybody on this panel instinctively just vetting and saying, "Hey, what was you born as?" when they kick it with somebody?
I have had somebody say your hands are a little bit larger than most.
But again, that is something that they have. But that is something that they have to instinctively notice. That is not something that's being announced. You see what I'm saying? So
no, I get what you're saying, but it is something, unfortunately, as you are dating, you have to now discuss. Like, it is not uncommon that people ask this question while you're dating. You might be married, but there are people who ask on platforms, even on dating platforms. They ask you,
but
what were you?
Christina.
Hold on, Mr. Logic.
Dang, Logic, I was right there. I was right there.
Go ahead, finish.
Well, no. Because again, what I'm saying is everything you're saying is a contradiction, and I understand why. The reason why you're contradicting yourself is because you know them personally. So it's much more difficult to hold somebody accountable because you don't want to look crazy to the people that may be watching the show or the people that you would call friends. But the reality is that you just substantiated the argument that it is a problem. And the biggest problem for it is the mentality of women in a general sense, because they advocate for the things that is in their benefit, but then they start to change their tune when it starts to affect them personally. It's almost like the opioid crisis. Like, nobody cared about the opioid crisis until it was at their doorstep, right? And so nobody cared about gay rights, transgenders, how it was going to affect them. They weren't even concerned. Women aren't even concerned about equal rights. Equal meaning you get both the negative and the positive until it started hitting their doorstep, until they realized that they needed a man, until that conversation last week when we talking about the purge law and women are saying, yo, I don't even want to go outside by myself because there's roles that a man should try. No, but when you get equal across the board. You get the equal headache. They advocate against updating the family court laws, which is not equal, right? They don't want them inside of their sports, but no, listen, if you want equal rights across the board, you are going to have it all the way. You can't pick and choose the pieces of it that you love and that you don't love,
It's not a buffet.
And want to remove it from the conversation. You have to take it in its entirety. If you're going to support them, you can't say they got to be loud and proud with it. You can say that they can be down low with it, because whatever it is that they identify as what they're advocating for is what you have to recognize.
Mhm.
So do you feel threatened by transgendered women who've gone to men?
I personally don't, but I don't look at this as an issue that we can look at from an anecdotal perspective. It's not just me, right?
Okay.
I don't like the idea that it could be a whole nigga in the bathroom with my daughter in a public space. That's not cool, right? I don't like the idea that my daughter would then have to go to school and then I have to deprogram her from what society is advocating that my daughter should acknowledge and shouldn't acknowledge, when I teach her something completely different inside of the household, because she got to spend 8 hours in school away from me, because that's the standard of what it is that we establish in America. So is it threatening to me personally? No, because I already got my chick. But is it threatening to society as a whole, which I'm going to leave this earth in a better space had I not been here? Absolutely. And I am not going to sit here and act like this is not a problem. I don't like ladyboys.
Okay.
All right. Anybody else want to chime in on this?
Yeah. I'll just say this. I say this all the time. I come on here. I'll tell y'all, look at the laws. Laws are coming up now that literally say that they have the right to change birth certificates, to do whatever they want to do. And then now look at the laws. The laws are also saying that they don't even have to tell you nothing. So I'm really saying this big picture, and I'm with Anton. It's not for me. I got to leave this world to somebody else. And then now, the more stuff we tolerate, imagine you say, oh, I got a transgender friend. It doesn't matter to me. Perfectly fine. I got it. Understand. But the more you tolerate, you'll leave this world in worse shape for your kids. Do you want your kids to have that? And especially coming from women that always say that they want choice. Don't you want to be able to sit here and say you leave for your sons and your daughters the possibility to have a choice whether or not they was actually messing with a born man or a born woman? Do you think they deserve that choice?